Wow, what a game. So, the Lions just beating the All Blacks in the second test of the series. We're just going to go through all the details and my notes in the game in a little bit. So, the Lions have done it. They've evened up the series, so it's 1-0 at the moment, so it's all to play for. It's going to be an incredible third game. I can't wait to next weekend. Obviously, there are quite a few talking points this game and how the two teams played as a whole. Let's get the first, obviously, big talking point done and dusted. Just get it out of the way. There's going to be a lot of controversy about this. Obviously, going to be two sort of conflicting points of view on this. Sonny Bill Williams, obviously, got red carded. I think it was about 20th minute. Thought it was a pretty reckless shoulder charge into Anthony Watson's head. My immediate thought on it when I first saw it was he kind of bracing for an impact, and I saw it again, and he sort of stepped into it and dipped. And then I thought, well, okay, it all happens pretty quickly, so maybe a yellow card would be fair. But then you have to think that if Anthony Watson wasn't being tackled and Sonny Bill Williams had tackled him like that, it would have been a straight red. The fact that it was a bit of a cheap shot, I think it probably, at the end of the day, was a red, and I think the more you saw it, the worse it got, and it did look bad in slow motion, but I just think it's one of the things that they're probably looking to stamp out the game as well. So I think fair play. Whether or not the sort of Lions test series is the time to make an example of it, I'm not entirely sure, but look, it's what's done is done. He was sent off. He won't be playing in the next game. Be interesting to see how the New Zealand public react to him personally and how they think the game would have gone if Sonny Bill was only off for 10 minutes instead of, I think, about 60. That is the big talking point. It happened, and it obviously happened in the Lions' favour. Let's just talk about a few points about the game. I think more kind of on the Lions side rather than the All Blacks. You know, we all know what the All Blacks bring, and considering they were playing with 14 guys for the majority of the game, they actually played very, very well, and they fed off the Lions' mistake, penalty count, all that kind of thing. Beauden Barrett generally had a good game, missed a few shots at goal, which ended up costing them. But, you know, he's not a renowned goal kicker, whereas Owen Farrell is. That kind of, you know, evened itself out in the end, I guess. Okay, talking about the Lions, they were much more aggressive in defence, particularly around the fringe of the rocks. They're much more aggressive, much more in the faces of the All Black. Didn't let them get that sort of second pass away close to the fringe of the rocks, which is a lot better. The All Blacks then failed to get a momentum close to the ruck. They just failed to get beyond the gain line more than they did at Eden Park, which worked well for the Lions, allowing them to slow their ball up a lot more. They had a defensive plan where Sean O'Brien was going to stand between 10 and 12 to sort of stop Sonny Bill. That kind of didn't necessarily have to happen for most of the game because he wasn't on the pitch, but, you know, that was a good defensive plan. I think it got shown up a little bit when in the first half, James Kano just ran over top of Owen Farrell, allowing him to get over the gain line. The Lions then gave her a penalty for not releasing, throwing that sort of follow-up tackle. Gave her a penalty. I think that made it I think it was 9-6 at that point. The All Blacks, that can't happen again. That can't keep happening. At the end of the day, the selection of Aaron Farrell kind of worked out. We'll get onto that in a little bit, but I'm just a bit concerned about that defence. The Lions found a lot of success in the wider channels because they were running straight lines in the midfield. So yes, even if Sexton drifted or even if Farrell drifted, they had straight line runners, which really, really helped. And it also does help if you've got one man extra, but I think even when Sonny Bill was on the pitch in the first 20 minutes, they did get success in those wider channels, which will really push them forward next week. If the All Blacks are still missing Ben Smith, a fullback, they're in real trouble. I think the first half, all in all, 9-9 draw was probably a fair reflection of the game. I think, to be honest, I was praying for them to get a drop goal at the end, make it 9-9, but it turns out they had a penalty instead. So, yeah, it's good. It's good. I think the Lions were guilty at times of overplaying their hand a little bit like that first test. It looked like they'd nailed it and they were picking the right times to offload and they're picking the right times to pass it. And Jonathan Davies did a beautiful behind back flick and it looked really good and it worked. But I think they pushed it at times, just pushed it a little bit too hard. So again, it was a lot better than it was in the first test, but it's still something that they can work on for that third one. Going into that third game, everything has to work. Everything's got to go 100% right if they're going to win this third test and come away with a series win. Going on to the half-time, obviously, yeah, it was 9-9 and Sean Fitzpatrick was on Sky Sports and he didn't defend Sonny Bill Williams. He said it was a stupid thing to do and I kind of agree with him and, you know, it is what it is. Half time, I felt like the game was the Lions to lose. I felt confident in Lions. I felt like they could win it. I felt like they could come away with a win. And yeah, I really felt like it was the Lions to lose. And I thought, I think they've got this on the All Blacks. I think they really have. Second half, it was penalties. Jeez, just penalties all over the place. And if Beauden Barrett, I think it was 3 kicks in the end. I think it was 3. Oh, man, I mean, Mako Vunipola, I don't know what he was thinking. I really don't know what he was thinking. And 2 penalties in quick succession from him, and he got binned, and I don't see him starting in the third test. But look, the penalty, I was getting really, really, really frustrated. And the more points the All Blacks racked up, and the fact that Beauden Barrett missed one, I was quite relieved. If he'd scored that, it was game over. And yeah, I was starting to panic a little bit around the 60-minute mark. I was just thinking, geez, not again. No, this can't happen. Faletau's try, let's get onto that. The Lions used the pitch, the width of the pitch, really, really, really well. Really well. They exposed the All Blacks then. They exposed the fact they had 14 players and the whole was off the pitch. And HIA test, they went wide right. Anthony Watson made a bit of a break down the right hand side, and they came the other way. And it was Faletau 1-on-1 with Israel Dagg, because then it kind of be one winner there, absolutely 5 metres out. It was actually a really, really good try, to be fair. The All Blacks had possession at the end, and I think they had a few minutes. This All Black team is a very, very, very good team. Don't get me wrong, it's an incredible side. But at the same time, I think they've got a lot of growing up to do. I think this All Black team are not used to sort of being behind, particularly in the closing stages of a game. They're used to being in front and in control. This All Blacks, they need to learn next. The one thing I think they need to concentrate their game on, I think, is closing close games out, or taking charge of those games they're slightly behind right at the end. Prime example of this, they had possession, they're just outside the lines, 22 I think, right at the end. What they should have done, pick and gone. And a draw in the second test would probably be a success for them, to be honest. They didn't need to score a try, because if they got a draw here, the most the Lions could get is a draw, and it's not a series win. What they should have done is control the ball, slowed it down, pick and go, get in a position for a drop goal, or work their end to a position for a try. Instead, Aaron Cruden, with 2 minutes to go, decides to do a crossfield kick, and it just doesn't do anything, it just goes out, gives Lions possession, and means they win. I'm not exactly sure what he's thinking there, but if the one thing that New Zealand need to work on is closing those games out. And I think if it was reverse and it was a Lions in that situation, they would have done that. They would have found a way to get those 3 points at the end. Or England, for example, Ireland, that's how they would have done it. I think New Zealand, that's probably the last thing that they probably need to work on. But the Lions in the second half just couldn't get the ball. They couldn't get it for long enough. To be fair, when they got the ball, they used it very, very, very well. Very impressive. And Conor Murray was the heartbeat of that. He had a good game, deserved his try. He was extremely, extremely good. Just going to go through some of the players. The front row, Mako Vunipola, just under pressure at scrum. He did okay at scrum, but as the game wore on, he got more under pressure. In the loose, he was a bit sloppy. He had 1 or 2 good runs, but yeah. Jamie George, solid game. Solid, very, very good player. He would definitely start that third test. Furlong, much more impact in this second test than he had in the first, and he had a few charging runs, which is good. Toje looked like he was a bit nervous at the start, but as the game wore on, he grew in confidence and he had a very, very good game. He certainly stood up to the All Black second rows. Alun Wyn Jones, for me, he had a good game and he was a real leader out there, and you could see him geeing everyone up. So yeah, fair play. He actually did okay. Courtney Lawes, he had 1 or 2 impacts when he came on, which is good. It's kind of what you want. He didn't hit anyone, but he's closed Beauden Barrett down pretty well. Back row as a unit, played well. Sam Warburton did his blindside work. You didn't really see him, which probably means he did his work extremely, extremely well. Sean O'Brien had a better game. I think he's more able to support in the breakdown area with Warburton there, so that kind of worked a lot better. Faletau, again, good game, good carries, good try, he played very well. Spoke about Conor Murray, good game. Sexton and Farrell, on the whole, they did well. They actually combined very well for the first phase of Faletau's try. That's what they brought in there to do. Even if it just works the once, that's all it really needs to do, and it helps with something building on the pitch. But that being aside, I think they needed to have threatened the inside lines a little bit more, perhaps, but actually the wingers did a fairly good job of keeping the defence honest on his inside lines, and the forwards were making enough of an impact on the fringes just to keep Tan and inside centre a little bit interesting. Those two did okay. I've still got question marks over the defence. I'm not sure who All Blacks will play at 12 next game, but it'll be very interesting to see. Into the wingers, Watson did well. Elliot Daly did pretty well. Jack Nowell, when he came on for his little cameo, did well actually. Jack Nowell did very, very well when he came on, and I was kind of hoping that he'd come on again for Elliot Daly, but it wasn't to be. But yeah, so they got a solid backup from Jack Nowell. Liam Williams it was a difficult day for the fullbacks. Israel Dag showed it was hard, and it was very, very wet. It was blustery. It was difficult to catch those high balls, but Liam Williams chasing high kicks was extremely good. He was very good. I think he forced Israel Dag into 2 or 3 errors in those high balls, which can be turning points in the game. So his work rate at fullback was second to none. He did very, very well. I probably expect to keep his place in the next game. Talking about game 3, Lions, I don't think they're going to make too many changes. I think they'll start Farrell and Sexton again, 10-12. Paul Bentillo, to be honest, because Jonathan David had a very good game too. Bentillo will be on the bench again. In terms of the All Blacks, they're going to have to make some changes. I'm not sure where their injuries are at. I don't know where Ryan Crotty's at. I don't know where Ben Smith's at. I have to have a look into it. The All Blacks are going to come firing in this third game, and it's going to be a hell of a contest. The Lions, on the whole, got away with it. I think, to sum it up, the Lions got away with it a little bit. They did play well in parts. They didn't outplay the All Blacks, and it was probably sort of game where actually 3-point margin was probably about the right result, but it could have gone either way. Yes, the Lions probably created a few more opportunities when they had the ball than the All Blacks. The All Blacks looked at times a bit static, but that was more down to the Lions defending well than the All Blacks really playing badly. So Beauden Barrett's kicking definitely let the Lions off the hook, and I think next week, if the Lions concede that many penalties again, Beauden Barrett is not going to let that happen again. Anyway, guys, that is enough from me. Let me know what you think of the game. Highlights, lowlights, Sonny Bill, all that kind of stuff. Let us know, guys. Give the video a like if you liked it. Subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the build-up to the third test.